Hi YouTube, welcome to Beauty in the Empty Nest. And today I'm going to talk about the Hourglass Ambient Lighting Edit Palette. So if you want to hear more, keep watching. Okay, so let's get going. The Hourglass Ambient Lighting Edit Palette. As you've probably already heard, because this has been a much talked about palette with very mixed reviews, probably siding more towards the it's not worth it side, which really made me hesitate about even going forth and opening it to use it. However, I want to take the plunge because I tend to really like these powders. However, I do not have a large collection. So this is what the palette looks like. It comes with 6 different colors. So the top row is more of the face kind of setting and iridescent colors. The bottom row is more of the cheek colors. So I already do have one of the ambient lighting powders, and let me show you. It is in the dim light. So it looks like this. You can see I'm hitting pan, which is one of the reasons why I decided that I would need to explore getting another option. So this is just the regular palette. Let me show you in comparison to the sizes. Okay, this one was, I believe, around $40. I could be wrong on that. I'll put everything down below. This one is $80. Now let me open them so you can see the differences in sizes of the pans. So you see, there's not a lot of these in the pans. There's a lot in this pan. So the price comparison, it's hard to put a full value on this because what I'm thinking about is that all these colors are all in one place when I travel. This is so much nicer than having 6 of these all in one place. And I did not find this nice combination in some of the trios that they have done. So what really is included here? This top row, and let me tell you a little bit about some of the colors. So this top row right here is the dim light, which is what I already have in this one. And I use it as a really nice all over final finishing powder. And it does do that thing of kind of blurring some things. And I don't always notice it right away, but I have to say when I don't use it is when I notice it. So I don't notice it necessarily when I use it, but I notice it when I don't use it. Kind of strange, right? But it just does that nice kind of, I don't know, completing your makeup look, but it doesn't add any kind of glow or shine. Sorry, the middle one now is Iridescent Light, and that is a new one that, as of right now, is specific only to this palette. They describe it as a rose pearl powder that gives a refined glow to the complexion. So, does it? I'll have to talk about that in a few minutes. The next one is the Diffused Light, and this is more of that yellow color powder, which does a nice job for, at least for me, for brightening certain areas. So now for the bottom row. Right here we have the Luminous Bronze Light, which is a very nice bronzer color. It does pull maybe a little yellowish on some people. For me, it's actually been fine. Then we move on to the 2 cheek colors. So we have Luminous Flush right here, which is the champagne pink color. And then we have Mood Exposure, which is more of the plum color. So if you're doing any research on these, you understand that the blushes and the bronzers are also mixed in with complementary colors of the face powders, which gives them that ability to do what I love so much about them, and that is the color goes on, but then it blends out and smooths out so nicely because it has other kind of colors built into it. So I actually am wearing everything right now except for the Mood Exposure. I opted today for the Luminous Flush, the middle color. So right here, this yellow, the Diffused Light, I have that under my eyes, a little bit top here. So any place that I would, and a little bit along under where I put my bronzer. So any place I want to bring a little pop to. I have this Iridescent Strobe Light, which is actually the full name of it, as my little bit of a highlighter. So top of my cheeks, I kind of do the C right here. Then I also put a little tiny bit in the corner of my eye and a little tiny bit on the top of my Cupid bow. By then, it's almost all gone. Then the dim light, which is right over here, is what I have as a finishing powder that I put all over. And I also use the bronzer in typical places. And the plum one is also, the Mood Exposure also is beautiful. I love both of them, which is really nice. I'm using everything from this palette. Okay, so I'm gonna start using this palette, and what I found the best brushes for me is I love this double-ended Kat Von D one. It's probably the shade and light one. Love this. So I'm gonna use the rounded edge, first of all, for the highlighting shade, so up there. Well, again, I say the highlighting shade, but it's not a highlighter. This is the Diffused Light. Yeah, I think that's what it is. Dim Light. It's a yellow-based one. And I'm just patting it in the areas that I would typically put any kind of light in. And it's not a huge difference. I always put it down below my cheeks here, underneath where maybe contouring would go, which I'm not doing contouring today. And then just a little bit here. Okay, now I'm gonna move on to the bronzer. I'm gonna use the bronzer from this tray, which is the lighter form. There's two different colors. So now I'm using the other end. I'm tapping in there, tapping some of it off. And what I found for me is I can't bring my bronzer very far down. I actually just have to keep it in this area right here. If I bring my bronzer too far down, I lose space here for my blush and everything. So I just keep it, I work it back and forth right in that little hollow right there, but I cannot bring it down. Oh, well, I can, but it doesn't work very well. So I'm gonna do, so this is bronzer / contour for me, and I'm not gonna get into any of those discussions that what colors, contours have to be, and this is the way I kind of use that. And then I'll do a normal bronzer application areas up top here. I've really been liking this bronzer. It's almost kind of, the color works okay for me, I think. And it's kind of like foolproof in a way because it blends so beautifully, but it's not too shimmery. I'm not a shimmery type person. It's not too shimmery at all. Okay. Now, for today, I think I'm gonna use the more plum-based one, which let me get the exact color of that. Mood Exposure. So it's the one over on this side here for my blush. And I'm again going back, oh, I'm gonna use the Mood Exposure. And I'm gonna switch brushes, and I'm gonna use my new Tarte brush that I got with my Timeless. So again, I'm gonna go into the Mood Exposure very lightly, tapping off. And now I just start, for me, right at the apples and just flick it back lightly. And then I can blend this in now a little bit, and I start blending it back a little bit. I've really been liking these blushes as well too. They just give a nice, almost like a watercolor effect look, I think. It's not too intense, but it's a definite color. So here's that stage now. And I will keep going back to blend this a little bit more and more at each stage. That's that part here. Now when I use the highlighter palette, which is the middle of the top row, I've been using my little e.l.f. stipple brush lately. And it's a small stipple brush. And always tap. And I start from about here going back. But I have to be really careful because the last place I want to get this is under my eyes. And I am really have some dark circles and stuff today. And then I try and really blend this in quite well. And then I do bring it up a little bit of a C shape on the top of my eye here. By then I don't have as much left on the brush. So here is where I am now. And sometimes I'll just put a little bit down here, but by that point I have probably nothing left on the brush. It's more of that effect that I think I'm getting, but I'm probably not. So now at this point, I am pretty much done with those, and I'm gonna put on the setting powder already from this. Now I would use the one from here, however, I'm still using the dim light. So the yellow base was diffused light. I still have a dim light in the full size, so I'm trying to use this up. You can see I'm already hitting pan on it. So rather than take it from the palette, I'm gonna use it from this until this gets used up. So I found that this powder is one of those that you don't necessarily notice the difference when you use it, but you notice it when you don't use it. I don't know if that makes sense, but it really seems to just airbrush out things. I hate to say airbrush because People, that can mean so many different things, but it seems to just soften things a little bit, soften the edges. So camera, I don't know if you can even pick up on that, but I found that when I don't use this, I'll look at mine and go, it looks a little rough, or a little textured or rough. Whereas when I do use this, I don't necessarily notice that part of the, so I hope that makes sense. Okay, eyes for today, So one of the big complaints we've heard, nothing about the product, but has been about the size of all of these little squares. So what brushes do you use? Well, I found some great ones that I use. I love this Kat Von D Shade and Light, and it's the perfect sizes. So I use the contour side for the blush, so just so you can see his perspective there. I use this part for the dim light, right there, and I can also use it for the diffused light. I also use this Sigma F10. I use this for my all over finishing setting powder and the diffused light. And I use an e.l.f. small stipple brush for the Iridescent Strobe Light. So you see, they fit very nicely there. And then for the blushes, my current favorite one is the new Tarte Brush Blush, which is so pretty, isn't it? And again, they fit really nicely there. So I don't have a problem. I have brushes that work very well there, but if you have those big kind of bronzer brushes, it's probably not gonna work so well. I've heard many people who then will just actually swirl across 2 or 3 of the squares. I have not tried that yet because I have more specific areas I like that. However, I'm very interested to try that with the blushes. How would those two look together? So my final review of this is I really, really love it. I have been using all the colors. I have been playing with it. I have also used the colors. I have used the Mood Exposure and the bronzer for eyeshadows. Now, I'm not a big person for much glow or glitter, but they just put that little bit of a little radiance as opposed to shimmery type stuff. So this almost can be a complete makeup kit here besides your mascara, liner, and foundation. Just something to consider and something to play around with, and I've been having a great time. So yes, it is expensive, but to have everything all in one place and the quality of these products, after hearing some of the initial reviews before I first purchased it, and it was just when they were first coming out, and hearing about the complaints about how small this all was, I was expecting that I might be one of those that gets it and also returns it, as I've heard so many other people have done. However, I do not plan to return this. I have really, really enjoyed it. So big thumbs up with the product. I think it's just wonderful. It works beautifully on mature skin. I've never had any trouble with this making or magnifying any of my lines or wrinkles, and it seems to blend in so well. As far as rush out to get, I really, really enjoyed it. However, it is an investment. So if this is not something you want to invest in, then I would say you wouldn't want to rush out. However, I am so thrilled at having gotten it, and this is after having read so many of the other reviews, which really kind of scared me off. So if you're on the fence about it, I would do that thing of, if it's possible for where you are and where you live, to purchase it, and if you're really unhappy with it, to return it or to exchange it with someone else through some of the makeup exchanges. However, I would seriously consider taking the risk with it. So I hope this was helpful, because I know there's been so many other reviews out there that actually scared me away at first from purchasing it. I'm so glad that I took the plunge and went for it. It works for me. However, I can understand for some other people it might not work for them. So I say take the risk and see if you like it. So that's my recommendation after using it for a good 2 weeks. I have really, really enjoyed it, and I can definitely see traveling with this. I'll just cushion inside like I typically do with some extra cotton pads on top. So I do hope this has been helpful for you. I know there's been a lot of reviews out there, and I always like to hear all different sides of it. So if it has been, please give me a thumbs up, and please also subscribe. I'm trying to build my subscriber base. Right now I have a goal of 500. Let's see if we can get there. So in the meantime, I hope that everything is going well. I look forward to connecting with you again on our next video. Goodbye.